Hey everybody, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to let you know how much I appreciate you taking the time out your day to listen to my podcast, Views from a Butterfly. I was able to do this through Anchor, and it was super easy. So if you're thinking about doing a podcast or anything like that, if you want me to help you, I will, but Anchor made it so easy. You can just either download the app or go to anchor.fm, and they basically, it's step by step. It's super easy to do. So if I can do it, who is not a techie person, well, technically I am now because you're listening to me. But if you guys want to do a podcast, try Anchor. They do the distribution for you. So I'm on Spotify, I'm Apple, Google, all the podcast platforms, that you can think of. I'm pretty much on there. So it's super easy. Then it comes with like easy tools that you can use. So sometimes if you need editing, which I don't, I haven't got that technical yet where I've had to edit stuff, but it comes with editing tools. It comes with a library for you to keep track of all your podcasts and stuff like that. So if y'all are thinking about it, check out Anchor, and tell them Butterfly sent you. Welcome to another episode of Views from a Butterfly. I'm your host, Butterfly. Welcome, everybody. I miss you guys. Today, I have a very, very special guest with me, Mr. Wayne Shipman. Wayne was homeless for 3 years. He's now an advocate for the homeless. And Wayne was suffering with mental illnesses, one of which is our topic today, which is seasonal affective disorder. We're getting close to the holidays, and it's getting darker earlier in some areas. So those are triggers for some people, including myself. Wayne is willing to share his story with us regarding his various struggles, particularly during the holidays as a homeless person. Wayne, I am so happy to have you here.
Hey, I'm very excited to be here, Miss Butterfly.
Thank you so much. Your story is just so intriguing, and you have such a way of putting things out there to the universe, and so I had to have you on here to share that positive energy with my audience. So as I spoke earlier before, the seasons are changing, and sometimes you get the blahs as it starts to get dark. But for you, living on the streets, with your struggles and stuff, how did you handle the holidays and stuff like that? And did you actually, suffer with seasonal affective disorder, or did you even know that you had it?
Well, I didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know there was such a thing. And I'd heard that term some time ago, but I came upon your podcast stuff, and you've got a episode actually titled Seasonal Affective Disorder. And I was like, well, that sounds like something I probably have, and I started listening to it. I didn't get mental health problems because I became homeless. I became homeless because I had mental health problems, and I didn't have a way to address them. I didn't have a way to cope with them.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to really make this message. This is a universal thing. A lot of people don't even realize the reason they feel bummed out or the reason they feel depressed. And, in my case, dealing with bipolar, a lot of times it doesn't feel like depression. It feels like angry. Like I wake up in the morning, I'm just angry about things, and I'm just kind of short with people, and I'm kind of slamming things around, and my wife will say, what's got into you? And I'm like, I don't really know. And, I went through that recently with Father's Day. I go through this every year with Father's Day because obviously, I'm separated from my children. They're all full grown now. They're all adults having children. I've got 3 adult daughters, and we got 6 grandchildren in the families, but I don't have much of a connection with any of them, to be honest. And it's still a progress in making. When these holidays start coming up, we start feeling it. We don't know why.
Yeah. So while you were homeless, so for the seasonal affective disorder, a lot of people really, I've had a lot of people call me or send me emails and stuff, and they did not realize that there was a thing. They knew that they had the winter blues or the blahs, or they didn't particularly like the holidays. Even people who had tons of family and stuff around them, they still had this feeling. So you're already on hard times as being a homeless person. So then, how in the world, did I know you're struggling as a homeless person, but how in the world did you deal with the holidays? Coming,
I
what
didn't.
did you do? Where was your mind
I
like?
went into emotional meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
But a part of it for me was because I was a father,
Mm-hmm.
and my children were expecting me to be, a good dad. And our society, especially in the United States, we have a very serious tendency to label everyone with this
Mm-hmm.
thing that we should be. Like everybody says, well, you're a father, you should be this kind of a father. When you're married, your husband should be like this. I'm sure when you're sitting in the salon and you're getting your hair done or something, you can hear conversations and they're going, "Oh, girl, oh no, I wouldn't let my man treat me like that. He
Exactly.
has got to be like this." Well, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
got to meet people for where they are and who they are.
Right. And
But
individually, everybody
yeah,
has like that was kind of a good point that you brought up about the girlfriend salon kind of thing, wherever they are, and people like, I wouldn't put up with this, I wouldn't put up with that. Everybody has their various levels of, what you put up with,
your
and with
threshold.
yeah, and then with mental health, we all have like so many different levels of it that, people are, afraid to talk about it and things like that, But what I do know is that, when I'm walking the streets and I do see like homeless people and stuff like that, my heart already like, you know, bleeds for them. But
Yeah,
during the holiday, I try to do things, for them, or instead of giving them money, if I have a hot meal or something like that, hand them that. But also you find that people tend to judge homeless people and assume that everybody on the street is automatically, air quotes, crazy or something
yeah,
like that,
a
or
loser. Yeah,
exactly, so
I've even
you
heard them say, "Oh, he must deserve it. He's out there. He must
E-
deserve it."
Exactly. So when the weather, so for you, since now you kind of know what it was, and so in retrospect, when you're thinking back, and you probably still, may go through it, because here and there, I have to catch myself when the weather starts to change and the seasons changing. I have to pull myself, by my collar to keep me
Yeah,
abreast.
yep.
So did you know? So you knew you had other mental health issues, but just focusing just on the seasonal affective disorder and the holidays and stuff. Did you know, even though you didn't know the name of it, did you start noticing around when the seasons change, it's starting to get colder and it's darker? Was that even worse, if there's a such thing for a homeless person? Was that even worse for you?
Oh, definitely, man. It
Mm-hmm.
was, well, first of all, I'm not homeless anymore. I'm a semi truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to think that I'm standing at a payphone or something
Oh,
talking to
no,
you,
no, no.
standing out here.
Yeah. Oh, no.
But
That's why I said you're an
check this out.
advocate.
This
Mm-hmm.
is, I'm able to speak on this now with some kind of clarity and
Mm-hmm.
meaning in the message. But
Mm-hmm.
this has taken me more than 10 years to get here, from there to here. Not just
Right.
as a semi truck driver, but in coping with what I was experiencing back then.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking about seasons change and it's starting to get darker and colder, for the homeless person, this is almost like being told, you have a terminal illness, and because the
Mm.
claustrophobic feeling sets in, like summer's gone, the leaves are falling, it's getting
Right.
cold out here. I still don't have a way out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go from your really deep, terrible depression attitude
Mm-hmm.
to a panic, to a fear and a panic. It's like,
Yes.
well, then where am I going to be sleeping when there's snow on the ground? What am I going to be
Ex-
doing then?
right.
And the other part was, I mean, that's just in our survival as a homeless person.
Yes.
But you and I were talking earlier in a phone conversation about how self-worth and our feeling of value about ourselves has a play in everything we think and feel.
Exactly.
And the relatives, the family, my children, even previous friends and coworkers that I worked with, they weren't really just judging me because I was homeless. They were judging me because I let them down in what they had expected for me, you know?
But what about you? How about Wayne? When you're thinking, so in your mind, which that gives you a heavy burden to carry, that you think that you let down your family and stuff. But at the same time, doesn't that incorporate guilt and shame because you're thinking about that, and then you're disappointing yourself, right?
It's an element of shame. It's a feeling of disgrace that comes over us, and each person is in their own situation and everybody has their own circumstances, but we all we don't just want acceptance from our loved ones, we need it. We have to get it. If we don't get it, we're starving emotionally.
Right. And that is so true. And then, so by you saying that, and that's with every human being, they crave touch, they crave, a loving feeling and, respect and all those things. And I mean, that's just natural that we would want that. But I just can't imagine you, or anyone that's homeless and stuff like that. I talk to people and everything like that, but I can't imagine being on the streets and feeling less than, and then feeling judged and all those things. So not only are you homeless, then you have to, there's the stigma of homeless. Then there's stigma of having, a mental illness. So you have like so many struggles, so I definitely commend you for, one, you were homeless for 3 years and you were able to somehow, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But now, you're advocating and trying to get your message out, to other people about not only just homelessness, but also the mental illness and stuff that you suffer. People need to start looking differently, instead of, like you said earlier, thinking, oh, they're just a bum, or they're just a drug addict, or they deserve it, and not knowing, your story. So you coming on any podcast, or you're, writing a book or whatever it is, it just like, so honorable to, to tell your story, and, how vulnerable you're being, to even open up to tell people that you don't even know, your story about that, so with seasonal affective disorder, on top of being homeless. So, you have to worry about where you're going to sleep and everything. But then that adds another element of pushing you down to the ground, so to say. So
there's so much that plays into this. I've visited and revisited memories so many times through the years, really trying to actually process it and be able to explain it. But here's a couple things. Since Thanksgiving and Christmas is almost right now, this is what, the 1st of November.
Yes.
There's sort of a feeling that goes along with this. And I've been wanting to elaborate the actual feelings of being a homeless guy, because when I first became homeless in Portland, Oregon, there were so many other homeless people. Resources were plenty. I mean, it was like, gee, where do I feel like going to eat today? There was just so much to choose from, so many resources.
So did it feel like that? I mean, not to interrupt you. So with you saying that, so it doesn't really sink in. It's like, okay, I got some resources, somewhere to sleep and eat. Wow.
And
I've never heard that.
And maybe we can come back and talk some more, because we don't have much time today. But
yeah, I would love to have you back, because your story is too huge for one day. I would love to have you back, to talk about it.
Christmas, I can honestly tell you with a raised right hand, I was homeless several times, different parts of the year. And so I've literally been out on the streets or camping in a tent during the holidays, any holiday on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
But Thanksgiving and Christmas is the world's worst because there's an attitude of cheerfulness. I mean, when it's near Christmas time, you just kind of get out, you see the lights, you just take your family and go in a car and you go look at all the decorated houses. Well, I was sitting on a bench downtown Portland, Oregon, kind of with my backpack, just watching everybody walk around and do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Uh-huh.
I'm patriotic. I've got a sense of dignity. Like, I'm really proud of, being able to accomplish things and impress my children. I'm not supposed to be sitting on a bench trying to figure out what's my next move, but I'm here.
Right.
This is reality. So that's the first shocker.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't realize when they become homeless, their first real transition is realizing this is real and it's happening to me. It's not them anymore. It's me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So one of my first really messages I hope to let your listeners remember is it doesn't matter what town or what city, wherever you are and you see homeless people, they're one of us. They're one of the human family. But like in the United States, if they're out on the streets, they're still they're Americans.
Right.
And I'm not trying to get into whether or not they have citizenship. What I mean is we're all one community.
We're all one, right.
We're all one community, and it doesn't matter what country in the world you go to, they all have their own homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have pride in our community, we sort of feel a sense of obligation. Like you said, you walk by and your heart just tells you, like,
yes,
I got to do something for this guy. I got to reach out. I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
That's your spirit just trying to express gratitude and, some kind of generosity.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I never like to sit and focus on the doom and gloom of like how terrible it was.
Right.
But I'm trying to tell people that we sit around watching you do all of your shopping and carrying your lattes and talking on the phones and all that stuff. But during the holidays, it is an emotional punishment that really, I've been working on this for 10 years and I still have a hard time actually like putting it into words.
Mm-hmm.
And, in one of your episodes, you were talking about, I think it was titled, Can Bipolar Be Genetic? And it was a really cool story. You kind of paraphrased what you saw on TV on a movie. This man's daughter had bipolar.
Right.
The daughter didn't really know what it was. She was fighting everybody that kept telling her she had a mental illness. She was out self-medicating. She was out getting in trouble. She was doing all this stuff. And the way you described that story touched me in a certain way because it really shows I've got bipolar, but my bipolar experience is much different than hers was.
Right. Right.
And if you have depression and some other psychiatrist tells me I have depression,
be two different things.
But it doesn't explain the experience we're having, right?
Exactly.
And so you might be missing your family through the holidays, or one of your kids might have took off to university or something and they're not calling. That's kind of, what's going on? Why aren't they calling? But when you're homeless, you don't even have to be on the streets, man. You can be in a shelter, or you can be in somebody's living room sleeping on the couch. You have this feeling of disgrace because you've let your family down, your friends and relatives, all through the years. These go through your mind daily, and it's like the filter of how we see the world around us.
Right.
So this shame sets in, and it becomes more and more terrible of a feeling as the holidays get near and closer, because everybody out there is just like going crazy for the holidays. It's like, golly,